to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Guns, self-defense, concealed carry. This is the Patriot Defense Podcast. From the war room in Idaho's high desert, here's your host, Todd Echols.
And here I am again. I am back, and I am back with episode 3 of the Welcome to Guns series. That was incorrect. This is actually episode 4. I'm not quite sure what I'm thinking about. This is actually episode 4. I did episode 3 last week. This is why I need to write things down, people. But like I said, we are back, and this is the episode 4 of Welcome to Guns series. And today's topic is going to be gun stores and what to expect. And this may seem like it's a pretty simple thing. You might be thinking, Todd, this is just a store. You're just going to go in, you're going to talk to some people. And for some folks, it might be that easy. But if you are new to firearms, if you are maybe slightly intimidated, maybe you're a person that doesn't look like they should be dealing with firearms. And some people look like they haven't been around guns before. Sometimes maybe it's a woman, right? Females can feel a little intimidated. And I know this because they've actually talked to me about it, and I've actually helped some of my students at gun stores. So I've gone with them, looked at guns with them, and I was there to kind of help them through the process and show them how it all works. But it can be intimidating, like it really can. So let's talk about this. First of all, you need to find a good gun store, right? Typically, I like to suggest maybe going to a firearms store where, I don't know, it's somewhere that you feel comfortable. Maybe somewhere where someone's not, paid a commission on the guns that they sell. And as much as I want to push small businesses, because I think there's some really good benefits to that, sometimes some of these bigger box stores are a little bit better as well, right? They're not paid commission to try and push something on you or sell you something. They're paid hourly, and they really don't care if you buy something or not. And so sometimes you can get a little different service. And for your going into one of these gun stores, for the first time, these bigger stores can be definitely a good idea. But on the opposite side of that, going and supporting small business, which I think is very important, sometimes you can go in there, as long as that's not like a good old boys club, right? You can go into some of these stores, and the guys that own the stores are the guys is the person that is behind the counter, and they genuinely care about you. They don't have 50 people in there at one time. They're going to talk to you. They're going to help you. Hopefully they're going to help you. I've seen pros and cons with both. So just know that going into it. Sometimes you go into these stores, and especially if you're new or you're a woman, you might be the only woman in there. You might be the only person in there, man or be a woman, whatever, that you go in there and you just feel like you don't know anything because you're new, and so you're still learning, and you feel intimidated, and there's a bunch of old codgers sitting up at the counter, drinking coffee and talking tough, and it's the good old boys club, and that can be intimidating to you. So one of the first things that I like to tell people is, if you don't want to go by yourself, reach out, find someone to go with you. Maybe find someone who is knowledgeable in firearms to go with you and show you the ropes, introduce you, to kind of show you how it works. It's a little less intimidating. Maybe you don't know anyone that you're exactly super, good friends with that's in your friends group that are into firearms. Where do you work? Reach out to someone there who might be into firearms. Talk to them. Get some help. Reach out to me if you're local. I'll show up. I'll give you a hand. So sometimes it's better if you take a friend, right? Now, as you go into the stores, you're going to encounter a lot of different things. There is some common misconceptions, and we're going to get into a little more of this when we talk about actual firearms. But sometimes those guys behind the counter try to sell you stuff, or when you walk into the store, sometimes you're drawn in to And I guess I'm gonna pick on maybe women this time, right? That you're drawn into, and even men, I guess, but you're drawn into these brightly colored firearms. I think the brightly colored firearms are the bane of our existence. Like, I hate those things, of my existence. Like, as an instructor, I hate brightly colored guns, because usually that's a symbol for we don't care about the gun, we don't care about the quality, we just want to sell it, and there's not a lot of thought put into the manufacturing, or a lot of thought put into the ergonomics, or the thing kicks like a freaking mule. Colored guns that are bright colors, it's like going fishing, right? They you see all these bright colored lures, and they lure the fish in. The fish bite that brightly colored lure because they're attracted to it, and bam, it gets hooked, and you take it home, you're stuffed, you put it on the wall, or they're eaten for dinner, or put it in the freezer, or what. It's the same thing with those brightly colored guns. They lure a lot of people in, and they bite on that hook, and then they're caught, and then they regret it afterwards. So be aware when you go into those stores, be aware of the brightly colored guns. Okay. When you go in there, you still want to obey the safety rules. Let's say you've walked in the store and you have made your way back to the gun counter, and you're there, you're kind of like looking. Okay. Don't be afraid, and even though they can be intimidating, don't be afraid to ask for help. Talk to the people behind the counter. Now, there's a few things that you have to focus on when you go in there. Some signs that might tell you to turn your tail and run. If you go in there and you're new to firearms, or maybe you're a guy that's new to firearms, or maybe you're a female and you're brand new to firearms as well, and you go in there and the people behind the counter treat you like you're an inconvenience. Maybe they talk down to you a little bit. You can just tell by the tone of their voice that they just don't have time for you, or they're just real, I don't even know the words, but you'll understand the feeling. If you get that, they don't need your money. Go ahead and leave. like don't. If you go in there and they're trying to force you into a certain firearm, if they steer away from all these other firearms and say, you need this because, they start saying that, you need this because, then you need to get out of there. You need to get out of there. You need to go home. You need to do a little research. You need to try a different spot. Sometimes, especially with some of these smaller gun stores, they obviously make money on what they sell, right? And some of these smaller stores don't have a lot of guns, in their display cases. Because it costs them a lot of money. So as you go in there, the ones that happen to be there at that moment in time are the best guns in the world. Even if they're not, even if they're really not, they happen to be the best guns in the world. And you need it, and you can't live without it, and this is the perfect gun for you. That's what you're going to hear. Why? Because that's the one that's in the case. They need to sell that gun so they can bring something else in. So you need to beware of that kind of feeling, that kind of push. If they're not listening to you, I mean, a firearm is a big purchase. It really is. If you're buying this thing to go and compete with, or in my neck of the woods, if you're buying it to carry on your person, if you're buying it to protect yourself, you need a good firearm, and you need to get what you want. You need to get what you're comfortable with. And I would encourage that before you even go to buy a firearm, if you know some people, or get a hold of an instructor, call an instructor, and maybe visit him and or your friends, and go out, provide some ammo, pay for a class if that's what you need to do, and go out and shoot lots of guns. Get your hands on a lot of different firearms, and then you can decide better what personally fits you the best. Purchasing firearms, buying a firearm, that's a really personal decision. And what feels good for me may not feel good for you. Now, it's kind of a side tangent there. So let's go back in there, okay? And let's go revisit the gun store. And let's say you've walked up to the gun counter. So like I said, don't let them push you around, okay? And you need to look for a good vibe, get a good feeling. Are they just trying to sell you something? Are they too busy to deal with you, a newbie, a rookie? You want to leave, okay? You want to leave those places. Take a friend, okay? We've covered that. Take a friend or someone else with you that maybe knows firearms and kind of make you feel a little more comfortable, okay? Now, when you go in there, the guns are going to be in the display case, and they're going to be locked up behind that display case, right? Some of them may have individual locks on them as well. Just depends on the store. Now, if you see something and you like it, you want to check it out, go ahead and ask. They'll get it out for you. That's how they sell these things. They want you to handle them, okay? Now, if you go into a gun store and you ask to see a gun from behind the display case, what's going to happen is they're going to get the firearm out. It's probably not going to have a magazine in it, or if it does, they're going to remove it. They're going to rack the slide. They're going to clear the gun, and then they're going to hand it to you. Now, if they pull the gun out of the display case, and this is my thoughts, if they pull the gun out of the display case and they don't clear it and they don't check it and that kind of stuff, then you just leave. You don't need to be there. If they don't know how to handle guns properly, you don't need to be there. Now, if they do get the gun out and they drop the magazine, rack the slide, they clear the gun, they're safe with it, they check it, and they hand it to you, then you should do the same thing. And I know we haven't covered that yet, but we'll get there, right? You should do the same thing. Now, you always want to do what? You're still handling a firearm. We discussed the other day last week about the 4 firearm safety rules. And you still want to obey those 4 firearm safety rules because you are handling a firearm. Even though it's not loaded, you checked it, he checked it, it's brand new, all that stuff, you still need to follow the firearm safety rules, which are what? Well, the first one is treat every firearm like it is loaded, even if you know it is unloaded. You know this gun is unloaded, so you're going to still treat it like it is loaded, which means what? You're going to point it in a safe direction, and you're going to keep your finger off the trigger. Now, one of the things you need to do when you pick up a gun, you need to, release the slide after you check it, make sure it's clear. You're going to want to grip it. We will discuss the grip later on, but you're going to hold it. You're going to want to see how it feels in your hand. You can ask the gentleman, where's the best place for me to point this? Usually I just point it down, down at the ground, right? And I grip that gun. Now you're going to want to dry fire or feel the trigger press on this. Feel if it's something that you want. Maybe feel the trigger reset, which we haven't covered yet, but we will. It's hard to get some of these shows and know exactly what order to put everything in. So some of them are just kind of mixed up in here a little bit, the best I could do. But you're going to want to press that trigger. You want to see how that trigger feels. Now, when you do that, I always ask them first, can I dry fire this? It's essentially their gun or their store's gun. It's not your gun. And some guns you're not allowed to dry fire. Some of them they don't want you to dry fire. So I always be polite, be respectful, say, can I dry fire this gun? And most of the time they're going to say, oh, yeah, no, that's fine. Go for it, right? Now, and when you do this, you still want to keep it pointed in a safe direction, okay? Now, you want to be respectful, and you want to handle the gun properly. Now, some guns, they're all kind of the same, but some of them are a little different, right? And if you struggle with something, if you struggle racking the slide, if you struggle with something on the gun that you're looking at, if you have questions, ask them. They are there to help. They want to help. And if you start asking them and they just seem real put out that you're asking these questions, then you need to leave. They don't need your business. They don't need your money. They should be there to help. They want to sell a firearm. They should answer your questions. Now, they're not necessarily instructors, mind you, but they should be able to get you through the basics of handling that firearm. Now, if for some reason you go in there and you're asking these questions and they can tell that you're new, they might actually suggest, hey, look, I want to sell you this gun. If you want to buy a gun, I want to sell you a gun. But they may recommend that even after you buy a gun, they may recommend a local instructor. They may hand you a business card, may encourage you to go take some classes. And they can do that, right? And that's them being respectful to you. They want you to be safe. They want you to be competent. They want you to go out and use that firearm that you just bought. And so if they do that, do not get offended. Tell them thank you. Take the business card, write the information down, whatever it is. Sometimes, and I'm sure they would have no qualm selling you a gun either way, but they may say, hey, look, before you buy a gun, why don't you, since you kind of maybe they can tell you're getting a feel for what you want, maybe they can get a feel for you haven't shot a lot of guns, right? they may say, hey, look, why don't you go take a class first? I got this instructor. He does, puts his cards here. I send a lot of people to him, whoever it is. And if they recommend going and taking a class, most instructors will set you up with a beginner's class. They will talk about the safety, the fundamentals. They'll have guns that you can shoot so you can get a good idea what might feel good in their hands. And then you can take that new information back to the gun store, and you can maybe hunt down a gun that is, you feel a little more confident about it. That's not a bad thing to do. Now, I'm sure the gun stores will sell you a gun no matter what, but they're going to make some suggestions. As long as they're not being rude, as long as they're not being snooty about it or condescending, then you're going to be okay. But if you get a real bad vibe, if you get one who's just a jerk or feels like they just don't want to put up with a new person in firearms, then you just need to leave because they haven't earned your business. Okay, that's simple, and that could be with any store. I've got stores I won't go into. I mean, just because I go in there, I don't like the vibe. I don't like the maybe they're rude. I don't like the way they talk to customers, whatever it is. And you can do that. Go somewhere where you feel comfortable, honestly. And that's who you need to spend your money with. So I'm looking here. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Be safe with it. Don't get yourself pushed around. Take a friend. Maybe you go in there and you're just window shopping, and that's no problem. People window shop all the time. Maybe you narrow it down. You handle some guns. You find 2 or 3 guns that kind of interest you. Write them down. Write down what they are, and then take them. Or not take the guns, but take that information and go home and do some research on it. Find out if they're good guns. Find out if they're bad guns. You can go online. You can find reviews for anything, especially firearms. And they're going to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay, so that's a good place to start. Use that information along with going to the store and looking and handling and checking them out, right, to help make an educated decision. And if you have gone into a store and you enjoyed the guys behind the counter and they were good to you and they respected you and vice versa, on the opposite side as well, then when you're ready to purchase your firearm, go back and purchase it from them, right? They were good to you. Go back and be good to them. But I know going into a gun store for the first time can be a little intimidating. Go in there, just be upfront and honest. Don't go in there with an attitude thinking you know everything, because I guarantee you don't. And they're going to treat you differently based on what the attitude that you put forth, right? The front that you bring into the store. Go in there and say, hey, look, I'm pretty new to this. Like, I'm doing some research. Can someone help me? I'm just going to look today. Even I'm not going to buy necessarily, but I want to look around and see what they say. See if they help you. Now, most places will. Some places do not. The places that do not, they do not need your money. So there you go. Gun stores and what to expect. Again, if you listen to this podcast, fantastic. I really appreciate that. Share it with your family, share it with your friends. Hopefully you find some value in these, right? It's not just me sitting around yapping with my buddies. We have a place for that, and that is on the weekends. These are more educational, kind of help the new shooter, even the old shooters, whatever, along in your firearms journey. And that's kind of that's kind of the vibe that we're going for here. So like I said, if you liked it, find value in it, share it with your family, share it with your friends. You got any questions, you got any comments, something you want me to cover, feel free to call me. Feel free to text me, area code 620-794-6223. That's area code 620-794-6223. I also have an email. The email is down in the podcast show notes. You can find it down there. And then you can find links to every social media page that we are on. And we're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're on Rumble. We're on YouTube. That's 5, right? That is 5 places where you can find us. Now, we are a little more active on others, some than others, but go on there. If you're on all those social media platforms, go in there, like, follow, subscribe, whatever. It is all free. Do that, because hopefully we've got some more videos coming out and some different things. I'm trying to be a lot better this year, a little more organized, And so we'll see how it works out. But anyhow, I appreciate your support. And if you haven't ever been into a firearm store or a gun store, man, go check it out. Go check it out. Start your journey today. Go find a firearm and train. I will talk to you guys later. See you next week. Bye.